suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Coloradians, and everyone that's smart enough to listen from the outside.
It's one of the most amazing plants we've ever discovered.
The pot party, the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
Wheaties! I got Wheatie Bucks!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Stoned Appetit with your host, as always, it's me, Kemp, and back on the casting couch with me, it's CB, fresh off a 3-week safari. How's it going, bro?
I made it out alive.
I cannot say the same. I'm driving the struggle bus on this Monday. But we have a great episode. It's a long one. We have a lot to catch up on. We've got Queen Evil, the ones and twos, and we've got a loaded docket. But before we dive into all that, Chris, let's do some quality ad reads. What do you think?
Go for it.
Oh, fuck, I was hoping you were going to go for it.
Oh.
You want to go first?
Well, we did have a winner for the Father's Day special at one of our favorite sponsors, Breckenridge Distillery.
Nice to know. That is true, Chris. So, yeah, we picked our winner, and while the Father's Day giveaway may be over, the season of partying is still upon us. That's why we're stoked to be working with Breckenridge Distillery. 20-plus award-winning whiskeys and bourbons, not to mention rum, gin, vodka, bitters, and all the other accoutrements that make a summer cocktail great. No matter what, you may be scratching the itch. I don't know what you were drinking over there in Africa, but we're going to
A lot of gin.
A lot of gin. Well, if you're happy to find yourself, maybe camping in the Colorado woods or coming off a 4-day bender with some rock stars in the mountains, Breckenridge Distillery is there for you. We're calling them the crutch of summer because some of you need them. And we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout-out to our number one head shop friends. That's the crew over at Ritual, Colorado. They were also in the giveaway, Chris. But if you don't know, they are the head shop we prefer. You can find all of their whole list at their website, ritual, ritual.co.com, to see the whole gamut. Whether you're looking for a one-hitter or a dry vape or, a way to hit dabs, around the same campfire we just spoke of, Ritual is the place to go. They're about to open up that brick and mortar. We've been talking about it for the last month or so, right there in Edgewater, Colorado, Sheridan and 26th. It'll have the whole gamut as well. But no matter what it is, whether it's a Father's Day gift, maybe you're just looking for a nice piece to take to July 4th celebrations, they've got you covered. All price points you may be looking for, and they deliver across the country. Use promo code Stoned Appetit. That's right, Stoned Appetit, no spaces, will get you free shipping to your doorstep across the continental 48. Okay, I'm tired.
You did well. You got through it.
I appreciate it. So, when did you get back from Africa?
So I got back Saturday.
Okay, cool. For those that maybe are new to the pod, what the fuck have you been doing?
So, basically, what is it, like 2.5 weeks ago, I went to Africa on safari. And let me tell you, things did not start out that great.
Yeah, I heard you had the same little kind of issues or bumps in the road as I had when I was out in Spain.
I mean, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to United. But, that whole fucking... No, I know. That whole thing needs to stop, though. Like, this isn't like somebody's just like, this is like a $300 flight across the U.S. to visit people. It's like, nah, people, like, if you're planning this trip to go, like, you need to get there. So, anyways, after dealing with that debacle, completely rebooking. So, we got on the flight so I had flown to San Diego, and then we flew from San Diego to Newark. And so we got to Newark, which, by the way, Newark's a fucking dump. Like, don't ever fly into Newark. Like, it is...
See, I think people like flying into Newark because it's easier to get to that airport or to get out of that airport, and it may be a little bit cheaper than flying into, like, JFK. And I know LaGuardia doesn't have a train station, so if you're not on the, like, Long Island Rail, whatever, the LIRR, then you're in a pickle. So there are reasons.
But LaGuardia, you can get to a subway stop easily. Like, you can get into Queens in, like, 10 minutes.
I think people still
Okay, well, it's a fucking shithole. Like they have these restaurants and stuff in there, but all the food comes out of this one central location. So every restaurant is just basically the same restaurant with like a couple other. It sucked.
It's like a Cisco food.
Oh, it's fucking gross, and everything was outrageous. Like even for airports, like we were over the top. Everything, like every drink was $20. Like you couldn't get a beer for cheaper than that.
Oh, Chris, I'm gonna one up the shit out of the cost of a drink soon. But yeah, okay.
So basically we boarded a flight, and it was like super late. They said the plane was there at a wrong terminal, and they just needed to get it over to our terminal, which was absolute horseshit. But anyways, we boarded the flight, closed the cabin doors. We're like, oh shit, here goes 15 and a half hours in the air, sweet. And then the captain came on and said the flight was canceled because I guess there's an 11:30 p.m. curfew, and they don't let outgoing flights past that time. So then that was like a 24-hour stay up in the airport because we were just abandoned.
Why'd they even let you board? Didn't they like look at the watch and go?
Because they wanted to fuck with us. Yeah, like you can board a huge jet that's flying across the world in 20 minutes easy.
Right?
Yeah, it was fucking awful. And they just...
I'll tell you plug shamed everybody. They're like, this isn't some $300 flight. This is a very expensive trip. And he's like, this damn commercial airline only flies like, this is your first time experiencing these travel lows. It's like, we just get a taste of that luxury lifestyle. It's like, fuck, you can't screw this up for me.
You really can't. I mean, like, you were not going to fucking Orlando to Disney World. We're going on a fucking safari. Like, it's not, traveler's insurance. Get it. But anyways.
It seems like United has become one of the leaders in, like, snafus for international, because I saw other folks that we know from the community and the industry have had similar issues, not just including going from, like, out of duels to Africa.
Right.
Well. But it's an underlying theme, and I think it's got a lot to do with they're just trying to, like, they're running their staff ragged.
Yeah.
And their executives much more.
I'm sure that's what it was.
I mean, so they're just, like, driving everyone crazy and trying to make every dollar back after they lost, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, like, there's a lot more factors that play into, like, domestic flights than there is an international flight. Like, the international flight, the plane is leaving from this one spot and going directly to one, and then you're like, it's not like you're bouncing here, you're maneuvering different things. Like, it should be a lot easier to coordinate.
So it wasn't.
No. So anyways, yeah. So after that, after United abandoned us, we stayed up all night in the airport, down in baggage claim, waiting for them to come in. And I was just thinking to myself, man, these people are about to walk into a shitstorm. Because there was about 100 people down there, because they canceled 3 international flights that night. Yeah. So
you ended up getting to Africa like a day after you were intended to?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was super fun.
You missed Victoria Falls.
So we missed Victoria Falls.
So you have not seen any of the wonders of the world, is what you're trying to tell me?
No, but one of the safaris one of the camps was in a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
I don't know what that means, but I can't wait to hear more about it. Okay, so continue on your journey.
Yeah, so okay, skipping through the shit show that was getting there, we finally made it. And yeah, so we had to skip Victoria Falls, and we started at Chobe Game Lodge, which is, it's in this, like, it's kind of situated in Chobe, like, National Park, which is a big park in Botswana, Africa. And, so anyways, that part of the trip, like, we were just so excited getting in there. And the funniest thing was, as we're, like, going into the national park to get to where the lodge is, it's the only lodge that's in the actual park. It started, like, way earlier before Botswana had put in restrictions. But anyway, so we're driving there, and on our just drive to the lodge, we were, like, seeing animals. And we were so jacked. We were like, holy shit. And the person driving us was like, oh, yeah, that's an impala. And we were just, like, mystified. We were like, yeah. And come to find out, impalas are like fucking squirrels. They're everywhere. Like by the end of it, we're like, oh, an impala, cool. Like, I mean, those fuckers are everywhere. But yeah, coming in, there was elephants, giraffes.
Did you feed a giraffe? Was it one of those type places where you're having breakfast? Like, here's your like crepes, and then they give you some leaves to hand out the window.
No, I don't think you're supposed to do that. And no, they don't.
I've seen, yeah.
No, she's a producer. She knows.
This isn't like feeding the dolphins. Like,
Yeah, this was more, it sounds like more authentic, like a don't disturb nature sort of place.
yeah,
Yeah,
we weren't
yeah.
to interact with the creatures we saw.
Yeah.
So, anyways, especially since the fact that they can literally rip your face off or stomp you to death like an elephant.
Like we look at caviar.
Yeah.
They were like, I'm gonna eat the shit out of that guy.
Right. No. So anyways, so we get to the camp, and like, you know, they tell us you kind of have a camp orientation, and this one was like kind of like dipping your toes in the water because you were staying at like more of like a hotel type thing. But like, yeah, wake up call was at 5:30 a.m. Breakfast at 6, and then right after breakfast about 6:30 we're on the road. So the sun hasn't even come up, and the noises as things are starting to wake up. I mean, because like Africa is waking up. So like you think like, oh, birds chirping outside your window. No, it's fucking everything. It's baboons just like, I mean, there's noises that you've never heard. And you're, and it literally is like the whole world is starting to wake up. Like, holy shit, here we go today. Like, what am I going to get into?
It's like that early bird word thing, but like for real.
Yeah.
I think I said that every day when I woke up at 8. I was like, let's get a coffee. It's like they're doing the same. They're like, yeah.
Yes.
Let's not get eaten today.
So basically, like, yeah, we went out on a drive for like 4 hours, and you're just driving around. Like, we were just driving around this national park, different areas, and you know, these safari guides, like, I'd say it's a well-respected profession in Botswana. Like, they go to schooling. Like, I think it takes them about 4 years, and then they get certified in different things because, like, I mean, throwing somebody into one of these fucking safari vehicles, it's wild. Like, I don't understand how they can just maneuver.
You safe as well as being knowledgeable about the animals and their behaviors
Yeah.
and things. I mean, yeah, that's like a zoology, which, by the way, zoology, for those that want to know. Yeah, that is a degree. And, I mean, you have to trust them with your absolute life. So you would want that, like,
Right.
expert level education about it. So, yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts. And, like, the thing is, like, there's no, when we were driving around on different, like, game reserves and stuff, there's no signage. Like, there's just, like, so I have,
McDonald's out there?
no, I mean, there's no markers, really. Like, I don't understand how they know where they are. And, like, when they talk over the radios, like, usually, like, there's, like, 4 cars that go out. And so they're talking over the radios when they see certain animals, you know, to like tell people where they are and stuff. And yeah, sooner or later we're cutting through here. And if you were to drop me off at any point, even like a couple 100 yards away from camp, I wouldn't be able to find my fucking way back.
Maybe they use Apple AirTags on each car so you can just follow one another around.
So Chobe was really cool. Like, you know, you go out and you come back and have lunch, and then you just kind of hang out while it's super hot during the day because nothing's going on when it's like, yeah, and like,
I mean, it's obviously winter there,
right?
It's summer here, so it's, I mean, a little bit different. But I have no frame of reference. Like, is it like?
No, it's like it's super cold in the morning. Like we're talking like low 40s. So like the morning drive is like really cold, and then once you get up there, like. It would still get, like, there'd be a period in the day where it would be, like, in the 70s. But the sun's out, and so it feels a lot warmer than it is. But then once the sun goes down, it starts to cool off again. But, yeah, I mean, during the day, everything, like, the big cats and shit, they're snoozing. Mm-hmm. Like, lions and stuff, they're just, like, laying down in the bush somewhere. But, yeah, so, yeah, you go out in the bush. That's one of those terms.
Oh, I picked it up. Shout out to Buddha.
Yeah.
We were walking through the bush to find ragu skewers this week. I totally get it. I picked it. He's an Australian cat, so he's got that verbiage down. I don't, but continue. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did I say cunt?
I didn't. I only heard.
Why would that come up? One of the guides just like yells
Have
at someone.
you never traveled internationally? It's a very.
It is, but in Africa.
Well, I mean, the British once.
That's true.
No, but unless unless it was not from a British tourist who was also doing the safari, I didn't really hear it that much.
Dude, is that not the most, like, so it was both Mexico, I know it was for sure in Mexico. I'm doing this for 2 weeks and then going somewhere else for 2 weeks. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm here for a month.
I fucking hate capitalism so much. And compounded so many times when you go on vacation and everyone else is like, I know, we don't value our companies don't do it like that. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, it was wild when I exchanged, like, oh, I get 4 hours every pay period. He's like, how many pay periods do you have? I was like, 2 a month. He's like, oh, so you acquire a day a month? And I was like, yeah. And he just looked me straight in the face and just started laughing. And I was like, cool, boss. But yeah, so anyways, so then, like, you know, at Chobe, like, apparently, you know, it's kind of dry right now. And so all, like, the elephants have come into this national park. There's a shit ton of elephants. And they all head down to this waterway. And, like, we went out on a boat one day because we're right along this river. And our safari guide, like, pulled us up to this thing, and she's like, we're just going to hunker down here for a little bit. Just give it time. And all of a sudden, like, not 10 minutes later, just this one trove of elephants started to come in, and they all walk in a line. So they have their youngest ones in the middle, and they all just walk in a straight line. It's fucking fantastic. And then all of a sudden, another group comes out. And then there's, like, a little baby elephant that's running, and they're clumsy as fuck. But they all just go down and get in this water and just sit there for hours and just drink. Like, basically all yeah, and apparently, like...
You are.
Apparently they have exceptional memories.
Yes, they do.
And then, like...
Yeah.
You've all heard the story about the elephant that trampled the woman that came back and trampled her funerals?
Revenge. Yeah, so apparently, like, if you try to, like, you know, like, there's a large population of elephants in Botswana, and they've talked, actually, like, it was kind of a controversial issue on, like, how to curb that or keep it in check, because they can ruin villages, you know? I mean, they're huge. And the biggest issue is that, like, let's say if you start to, like, hunt one, like, in a family or whatever, if you kill one, you have to, like, wipe them all out, or they'll, like, remember and and just, like, cause destruction. But it's funny, they also, like, eat during this time. Some of this fruit falls off one of the trees, so sometimes they'll eat that, and it's fermented because it's hot, and so sometimes they'll get a little drunk, and they just tear shit down. Like, they can just walk over trees. Like, when we saw a bunch of trees just down, our guy was like, an elephant, you know?
How's the food in the bush?
So, I mean, like, you know, at this lodge, it was more of like a buffet style, and there was, like, some curries and different things like that, and it was pretty good. I would say they may overcook their beef a bit, but other than that, like, I mean,
You're not getting a medium rare, like, Impala steak?
no, but they do love ostrich. We had, at one of the camps, we had ostrich carpaccio.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I've got a taste for ostrich now, and I love ostrich.
Fuck yeah, I love it. Just bangers.
Yeah. So Chobe was all about the elephants. We saw some lions there, and it was a really cool experience and a way to ease into the safari, because the next trip.
It's just the beginning of the safari?
Yeah, that was one lodge. We were there for 2 or 3 days.
So how many more safaris did y'all do?
We went to 2 more camps.
Do they each have, like, different animals kind of in their area?
Demographics
of where they are?
Well, yeah, yeah. So, like, we got further. We were always headed toward the Okavango Delta, which is, like, this incredible. Yeah, it's this incredibly. If you've watched, like, Planet Earth and shit like that, they talk about it because it's the only inland delta that doesn't, like, reach a sea or ocean. So it's just like this natural delta that's inland, and it gets flooded by this rainfall that occurs up in Angola. And those waters slowly dwindle down. And so the delta, like, during the dry month, it will just be mainly grasslands. But during the wet season, it will spread out and flood. and like there's just all these streams, and I mean there's tall bush, like tall grass, and there's just deltas that go, and talk about getting lost. I don't know how the fuck they navigate that.
Is it wet season now? So was it all?
No,
it's not.
So
Okay.
it's not. But like, so I guess the rainfall up from the high elevation in Angola works its way down rather slowly, and so like as we were in the Okavango Delta, the water levels were starting to rise. So it was kind of cool. Like one day we drove over this one thing, and the next day there was like a couple inches of water there because the water's slowly starting to come in.
That's really cool.
But the next two camps we went to, the first one was at the Moremi Game Reserve, and that one was really cool because that was like our first, like, we're in it. Like we're deep in nowhere. And we basically took like an 8-seater plane, landed on a fucking grass runway, which if you're a little touch and go on flights, getting in one of those small fucking things, but it was so cool.
No,
like,
I don't like those.
First, it's too commercialized. You're not,
There wasn't enough flight attendants on this one.
This plane is too private and too small. I mean, you're fucking Goldilocks over here.
But I mean, the cool thing was like you're flying over Africa, and you're not up super high, so you can see the land, and it's wild seeing all the changes and the rivers that flow through. But the next camp, we get there, and basically they like give us the orientation, and they're like, so here's the deal. We got in, I think, around 4 that day, and they're like, so, you're free to walk around the camp, go to your tent, all that stuff. But once, like, dusk happens, like, you need an escort because, like, animals may just wander into camp. And then...
Getting up to go to the bathroom, and then you look up, and it's just a set of eyes just like watching you take a piss. You're like, oh, my God.
Yeah. So then, like, the funny thing was, too, was they were like, also, there's a hippo that lives, like, right here. His name was Oscar. They were like, don't be alarmed. He's pretty docile. And I was like, well, what's pretty docile? I mean, I've heard hippos are fucking meaner than shit.
Yeah.
And so they were like, basically this hippo, like, his father didn't like him. He was ostracized from the family. So he was like a loser with nowhere to go. And so he just... yes. And so he just stumbled into this camp, and like, he literally, like, will sleep there at night.
He just stayed.
Like,
he just was like, this is
yeah,
my
well,
place.
like, during the day, they go and get in the water because their skin's kind of sensitive.
Yeah.
And so they go and just chill out in the water, and then at nighttime, he'll come back up. And then there's, like, you could see it's like this bed that was just kind of made in the ground from when he sleeps. But I was like, okay, so we've got a hippo here already. And then our final night, a buffalo came in, and they were, like, not fucking around. Like, they were out there with, like, all these lights and stuff, and, like, trying to, because these things are, like, one of the deadliest animals in Africa, because they just charge people. Like, they aren't hunters. Yeah.
Okay. Were they, like, get inside right now, and then everyone else went outside to, like, scare it away?
So
wow.
yeah. So, like, every night after dinner, they would just walk you back to the cabin with a big flashlight. And it'd be like, we'll come, like, wake up there was at 6. So then they would come and do, like, wake-up call, and then at 6:30, they would come back and get you and walk you down to, like, where the dining table was, like, outside. But we were right on the water, so, like, you ate outside every day and stuff, and they had, like, cool kind of like a deck with some big chairs and a fire pit, so it was really relaxing at night. And then, like, you sat at a community table. So at nighttime at these places, like, they usually served, like, kind of like a first course. That's where I had the ostrich. And then, like, after that, they would have, it wasn't like a buffet style thing, but they would have, like, a couple different meal options, and you would come up with your plate. And that food, that's when the food started to get really good. Because you're...
Navigate us through some of the best meals, because I saw you were also in wine country as well. So since you can see some of these videos, and we'll continue to roll them out on social all week long, so it's sensitive to the conversation that we're having this week. We'll start having guests back on the pod next week, but we've got a couple of doozies for you. And we've still got Aspen to recap, but I want to hear about Cape Town, the wine
Yeah.
How's the food? How's
And
the wine?
and just one last thing on the safaris, like if you ever want a trip of a lifetime and want to experience like it's like a learning trip. Like you feel like you're a member of National Geographic out there. Because you're learning.
Did you get? Were you like in? Like, did you look? Did you fit the part?
I mean, like some people like overdid it, like some because like you.
Like Steve Irwin.
Yeah, and and the funny thing was when we got down there and we were told, you have one, you can bring like one, it has to be soft-sided luggage. We saw all these motherfuckers with like rolling bags, and I was like, what the fuck? And I realized I could have packed even less than what I packed.
I think that's the rule of every vacation. I took like 7 pairs of underwear.
Yeah.
I think I wore the same ones for 3 days.
The tricky thing was the fact that since we were going to Cape Town, you kind of had to have some nice things, So that was Cape Town's cool. So like the city, it's right there on the harbor, and we stayed right there by the waterfront, and that's kind of like a happening area or whatever. But like they have lots of cool shit going on. Like they have a really cool museum. We went into this contemporary art museum that was legit, and on top of it was this hotel, and the windows kind of like bulged out, and they were made to look like diamonds.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's $1,000 a night to stay there.
Was that good enough for you? Or were you like, oh, man?
Yeah, like the bidet, like
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. So anyway, Cape Town, yeah, it's a vibe. They've got a really thriving like drink culture, like legit cocktail bars, but legit in the fact that like, I mean, you're getting a cocktail there for like $5 that would cost you, $18 here. Yes, yes. So, anyways, gin's huge, obviously.
Shout out to our friends over at Breckenridge Distillery. They have a gin.
They do.
That's all.
Yeah, so when we got into Cape Town, it was just weird, like, being in a city after being out in the middle of fucking nowhere for a week. But Cape Town, like, it's fun. And, like, the shitty thing was like, it was really, like, bad weather. So it was rainy and foggy. So, like, you couldn't even see Tabletop Mountain, which is that big. You'll know if you Google Cape Town, you'll see that mountain up top. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, so we couldn't see that. We didn't get to go up there. But then, we were originally going to do the wine tour up in Stellenbosch one day, but we had to switch it. And luckily we did because the weather kind of cleared up a little bit. But Stellenbosch is beautiful. Like, I haven't been to many, like, vineyards per se, like in Europe and things like that. But, like, my Steph was just like, oh, this, if you were just to drop somebody here and, like, look at the vineyard, you'd be like, oh, is this France? Like, it's that pretty up there. There's mountains in the background. There's just long lines of vineyards. It was the scene. And it's a fairly old wine region. These estates have been hundreds of years.
Really?
Yeah, and so they're really nice. Like, some of them have, like, really nice houses. A lot of them will have their restaurants on there. But, yeah, I guess if you were wanting to say something big about South African wine, is they're known for, like, Pinotage. But then, like, it's kind of like I want to say they might be one of the only regions that really grows that grape. And it's like a cross between Pinot Noir and some other grape. So it's a little bolder than like a Pinot. But they have bold reds, like Syrahs, Merlots. Yeah, like some of our friends would love it over there. But then they also have really nice Chenin Blancs and Sauv Blancs. But anyways, the vineyards were great. We went to like 6 or 7, and we were lit by the end. But yeah, we went to Ernie L's winery.
Yeah.
We had to go check out the Big Easy spot.
Yeah, and he does a lot of, even if he's not necessarily known for his wine, that's okay, because he does a lot of other great things in the world. So,
Yeah.
Knowing that he has wine then, did you try Gary Player's wine while you're down there?
I did. But yeah, so anyways, that was cool. And what was cool too was the drive there. We learned a lot about South African culture and politics, and it's a messy situation. So that was really crazy to get perspective on, because you don't really understand. You know, we didn't like grow up in school like learning about Africa. You know, it was like, yeah, right. You touched on it, right? Yeah, yeah. Right. And like that was one of the sad things, like when you were driving up to the wine region, you went through parts of the valley, and that's where like the government relocated people, and that's where you start to see like the just desperate poverty. I mean, like shack cities. You know, that was kind of sad, and because you see this thriving Cape Town center, and like it was just kind of sad. That was one of those things where, you know, sometimes when you visit countries that aren't super developed as others, you see that sort of stuff, and it makes you kind of put some things into perspective. But yeah, so wine region was awesome though. I would love to go back, and they have a couple of different wine regions. But anyways, one of the hottest places we went to in Cape Town was Potluck Club. It's a restaurant that was recommended, and it was super cool. It was in this like edgy kind of market area, and the food there was fucking outstanding. Like it's just kind of like a it's almost what would you call it? What's Loca's spot? It's kind of like dim sum. Yeah, well, I mean, not like that in the food way, but like dim sum. Like you just check off things to order. And dude, let me tell you, one of the best. I mean, there's so many good ones. One of the best items was a fish sandwich, but it wasn't like a fish sandwich. It was like a miniature little sandwich, but the buns, they looked like hamburger buns, but they were like bao buns. And it fucking slapped. Like, it doesn't sound that sexy, but when you put it all together.
Yeah, you're not necessarily painting the sexiest picture, only because like, I was trying to find the description in my head. So it was like a bao bun burger.
Yeah.
Okay. I love a good alliteration, so that's a good one.
Bao bun burger. That's exactly what it was. But no, we had and I guess like probably the best tasting was beef tongue and mussels. It was like shavely thinned beef tongue. And it was almost like Wagyu, like it just melted. And yeah, I think I got a good video of that one, so we'll throw that up there.
Yeah, and you'll see these videos; they'll continue to roll out throughout the week, and we'll have Chris caption it all. If you have any questions, and maybe you have a trip planned with your parents, or maybe you're trying to plan some, once in a lifetime safari opportunity, shoot us a DM. Chris will happily give you all the tips of the trade, whether it be how was taking the malaria medication?
That gives you wicked dreams. Yeah. Like, very real. Like, I woke up the next day and I thought, like, did we talk about, like, I was talking, like, I looked to Mike, who was with us, and I was like, I was talking to you. Did we talk about this last night? And he's like, no, bro. And I was like, oh, cool, then. Just forget I mentioned that. So they're, like, real and vivid, and you feel like you're awake.
How's the marijuana in South Africa?
So that was kind of risky. We were at this food market, which was fucking awesome because there was probably like 20, 25 different food stalls. And we went to the seafood one with oysters, and it was fucking fantastic. But anyways, so I was walking around just kind of looking through the market. I think it's Mojo Market is what it's called. But I was walking through there, and all of a sudden I stumbled upon this CBD thing, and I was like, I'll give it a chat. Not interested in CBD at all. But I was more looking to catch a fade, and so I started talking to her, and I was like, so is weed legal in South Africa? And she's like, yeah, but it's like, it's weird. And I was like,
what does that mean, weird?
Yeah, I was like, weird like your politics, or like weird? And she's like, yeah. She's like, we can't advertise it. And I was like, so, like, she was telling me, like, this full spectrum CBD has THC. And I was like, I feel like you're just trying to sell me some shit. And she's like, no, we just can't put THC on packaging. But she's like, these gums have THC in them. And I was like, I'm going to trust you on this one.
How much was it?
Dirt cheap. I can't remember. Yeah, solid bang for the buck. And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, fuck it. And so I ate a few, and I couldn't tell if it was mixing with the malaria medication well, but I turned around and looked at Steph during our walk through the contemporary art exhibit, and I was like, am I okay? She's like, yeah, you're fine. Because the art museum was in a fucking silo, so I was...
Talk about that shit.
But yeah, so you walk in, and there's this weird, like, drumming sound, and it just echoes in the entrance. And I was fucking losing it. And then we got into the staircase. It's a spiral staircase up one of the silos. And I was like, not a chance. Not a chance. I was holding on to the railing. I was like, oh, shit, there's an elevator. Let's go to that. And we get into the elevator, and it's one of those fucking glass elevators, which I haven't been on since I was a kid. And so, you're
tripping off the malaria CBD gum combo.
Yeah, and I'm looking out, and I'm like, holy shit, we're going up a silo. Yeah, it was wild. And also, bring back glass elevators. Those things are so much fun.
Well, Chris, even if they don't bring back glass elevators, we can always give a shout-out to our friends over at Ritual who have the best glass in Colorado. So I'm glad to hear that you found, a way to catch a fade, and you found a little bit more about the insights into the cannabis industry of South Africa, which means you can justify that as a work expense.
Yeah.
Send that bill for the CBD gums into our accountant. Shout out to Steve Bryson.
That was not a paid ad.
But they do a Lord's work.
No, and then the final day in Cape Town before we departed, we went to the Cape of Good Hope, which is the southwestern tip of Africa. You couldn't be further southwest. But that place was fucking rad. Like, the water's clear. That's where the Atlantic meets the Indian Ocean. And it was funny. Our guide, we were asking, we were like, do you ever just fuck with people and, like, tell them, like, whatever you want to say? And he's like, no, I try not to. And I was like, well, you could, And he's like, well, I did have this one couple say, like, so when you get down to the Cape, like, can you see where the two oceans meet? Like, we hear there's this line where you can see it. And he's like, what the fuck are these idiots talking about? Like, yeah, there's a definite line, like the water changes. He's like, no, you fucking idiots. It's just water. But these, like, he hears, like, a lot of dumb shit sometimes. But you could fuck with some.
Some of the listeners to this podcast, so that checks out.
Very, very true. But the Cape is pretty, like, there's all these, like, points that stick out into the water, and it's beautiful. There's a big surfing area down there where. Yeah, that sounds zero fun. But yeah, so other than that, I guess the coolest thing that last day we went to Kirkenstein Gardens, I think was the name of it. But it's like its own climate zone. Like, there's like 7 or so temporal or climate zones around the world, and this is the only one that's like completely on its own. It's crazy. Like, it was a garden you could have probably spent a weekend. Like, it's huge, and it goes up into these mountains and stuff. It was wild. Yeah.
Did we cover everything? I mean, did we miss anything? Eve, do you have any good questions?
I mean, just for the safari part, did you have to, like, sign something that said, okay, if I die, it's, like, not your fault, it's my fault?
We did sign some things. I can't remember. I was just wanting to sign stuff. It wasn't like, oh, let me read the fine print on this. Like, I get it.
Swahili and Chris. That's right. Yeah. And I apologize if I misspoke on which, I don't know the language.
Yeah, there's a couple different languages. In South Africa, in Cape Town, they speak Afrikaans.
That's with the Cape, right? Is that, no, wait.
Yeah. And I don't, like, some people speak it still. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people speak it, but everybody we met was speaking English.
Really?
Yeah. But, yeah, so, I mean, they really good about orienting you, telling you, like, hey, here's how this works.
Yeah.
And,
What are the rules? Is it just like essentially just be quiet?
Stay in the fucking
I feel
vehicle.
like that's like the main rule.
And like don't like when the vehicle's moving, don't stand up, And then like whenever we come up on some animals, just be quiet, be respectful. And the animals, like, they don't pay attention to the trucks. Because like a lot of the animals have probably seen.
Yeah, they're used to it.
Yeah, but like you don't really interrupt them, and like half the lions, like they'd walk right by the front of the truck because you're just parked there. And I will say, like, the safari people, they did a good job of not like, or at least the ones we had, they did a good job of not like just disturbing them. Like we would pull up, and if we saw them in a distance and sit there, and like we wouldn't like follow him. Things like that. And then I guess the one cool thing I do need to share was we did see a kill, which was kind of fascinating. African wild dogs, or the African dogs.
Are those like hyenas?
No,
they're different.
They're smaller. Hyenas are actually pretty big. These look like your average house dog, but they're not. And apparently they can hear exceptionally well. But anyways, yeah, we were down in the Delta in these marshlands, and there's a huge herd of red lechwe, which are like antelopes. And the dogs needed to cross this little river to get over there, or one of the like kind of Delta streams. And so we sat there and watched them, and as soon as they crossed, they all split up and started going off. And then about a minute later, you hear all these antelope. You'll see pictures of them just running through the water. And then you hear this huge scream, and one of the dogs caught one of them. And it wasn't a pleasant experience. Like, it's the way life works down there. I feel like it's Hunger Games every day. Like, like you're going out there. You got a chance you might die today. But no, and those dogs just rip that thing to shreds. Like, they eat it like immediately.
It was quick.
Oh, I mean, I would say the death was probably a slower death because that antelope screamed for a while. But then once the other dogs they found out where that kill was, I mean, they were on it and they ate it and then just ditched.
Thanks.
That would be kind of hard to watch. But
I mean, we
like
couldn't
cool
really
and
see
hard.
it like we could see. I basically saw one of the dogs like pull out like a liver, I think it was. But we couldn't see it because it was all covered in the bush. So, like, the animal was down. You couldn't see that.
The ground cover.
You just knew that it was going down. Yeah, and it was gnar.
Did you hear, bones crunching?
No, you couldn't hear that.
Okay.
But, I mean, you could hear, like, it was like a
scream.
pack of ravenous dogs. But, we saw a leopard, which was also cool. Leopard, lions, giraffes, zebras, all sorts of deer-like creatures.
Was there many birds there or not really?
Yeah, but
around?
this wasn't like the high time for bird season. But there were fishing eagles. What
are those?
It's an eagle, but they're not like as big as the bald eagles, but they're pretty damn big. But we did see a few colorful birds, and I'm not a bird guy. I like them, but I couldn't tell you I can't remember the name.
But they were like very colorful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, they were really pretty. But yeah, if you ever want to like.
10, how would you rate this vacation?
10.
On the bang scale?
I mean, yeah. Like it's just incredible. Like that shit you see on Nat Geo TV and stuff. You're living that down there, and so it's one of those once in a lifetime experiences that I'm so grateful for, and I would love to save up for a trip to a different country in Africa because it's a really cool place.
Well, I mean, you didn't miss too terribly much while you were gone.
Well, I mean, you went up the hill to Aspen, right?
I did. While you were gone, we had to recap it.
Oh shit! Yeah, a lot. I was gone for
forever, Chris.
I went on sabbatical.
You did, and you're lucky that he didn't just fully take over chair 2 forever. You did really well, but we started 2 new segments. One's called E-Facts, and the other segment's called, I forgot what the other segment was, I'm brain dead, but we're going to start with the E-Facts before we navigate into Aspen. Recap, Chris, on some cool stuff that the rest of the community learned that he doesn't know yet.
Oh, about me.
Cool fact about fucking Africa, and you prepared for
No, I've never been.
I know, but you've you've got access to the internet.
The facts are about you.
Me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
You thought it was just facts I learned, and I was like, hey
yeah,
guys, this is what I learned today.
Random facts. Okay. Well, so what is a fact about Eve? What is a fact about Eve that I missed during my sabbatical?
Okay, what did I say?
Classically trained violinist.
Sure.
She has 2 cats named something and something.
Correct.
Salt and pepper?
Luna and something, I forgot.
Yeah, Luna and Bear. I told you last time, I think, I studied abroad in the Czech Republic, and he was like, oh, Chris, talk to Chris about that.
I forgot. I told her that you also studied abroad.
Not in the Czech Republic.
Where'd you go?
England. It's not nearly as cool.
Yeah, it's nice and safe.
Yeah.
For you.
Oh, yeah. Czech Republic's probably really tough when, tougher than facing lions.
Still journalism school, Chris, and she was learning about Game of Thrones sets, so let's give her a break.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's 3 facts.
Yeah, I think that's...
What's our fact of the week this week?
Okay, I'm going to keep it short and sweet since we have a lot to talk about. I'll say my favorite cheese is feta cheese. There you go.
So you're a big fan of the Greek cuisine?
Yeah.
Mediterranean vibes?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
What's your go-to order at a good Greek spot?
Probably just like a chicken shawarma plate or something, or a good gyro wrap. But yeah, probably chicken shawarma with the pickled radish.
Onions and radish?
Yeah, the radish, the big purple spears you can get. I don't know if you can get them out here, but...
Do you like dolmas?
I haven't been there.
No, like the...
What?
Like the dolmas, the stuffed grape leaves?
Oh, not really.
Tabbouleh?
Yeah.
Tzatziki?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't like the garlic sauce. The white stuff. It's too strong. It's too potent. It's there all day.
Tzatziki's the yogurt with like the
dill in it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. You're not a fan of the falafel?
It's okay.
What's your beef with falafel?
I already judged you.
Kip's not here to protect you.
No, he's
You're on the
not.
hot seat.
Are you going to let him talk to you about falafel? I am going to let him talk to you. Yeah.
No, I don't. It doesn't do anything for me.
Okay, what about baklava?
I can eat very little of it because it's just so sweet. So I can't
Jesus.
eat a lot of that.
Can you not eat a lot of ice cream?
Oh, I can. No, I can put away ice cream.
Ice cream's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That was a really random pivot.
I was just trying to figure out what's your long-standing beef with baklava and falafel.
No, I
Those are
like
two
baklava,
great
but I
dishes.
can't eat I'm not gonna eat a whole slice of it or half of it in a night. It's very potent. It's very sweet. It's a lot.
A lone chai is soft outside the source so that you can get a fun representation of how expensive Mediterranean food can be.
Baba ganoush.
Yeah, but it seems like our scene does kind of lack a little bit, and maybe either, at least in the authenticism of, some of the Mediterranean dishes. I feel like it could, there's some good ones out there,
Yeah.
but I feel like they all play the hits. None of them are getting super deep into those cuisines like Alone is at Soft. And I know there's those places in Cherry Creek, but I'd rather punch myself in the face and hang out
Right.
in that place.
And, speaking of food, when I was in Africa, I was thinking, maybe a couple times I'd run into, that, the inja bread, the sour.
The Ethiopian bread
Yeah.
with porous?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it,
So,
inja bread?
yeah,
I
so,
don't know the proper how to pronounce it.
yeah, I think it's ND something,
It kinda
J,
reminds me of
yeah.
the sausage as well.
Yeah,
Infusion.
yeah. But I was
not
thinking,
smart.
I was
Yeah,
thinking,
absolutely.
I'm sure, they probably serve that in most places, and it's nope, that's a Ethiopian thing.
Oh, do they have
Yeah.
a certain dessert in Africa that?
No,
Or no, not really.
We got random desserts, but one of the things you can buy here too. It's amarula, so that's it's like a Bailey's. It's like a coffee liqueur. Because sometimes on the morning drives, at one camp, our safari guide would bring a little bit with us, and we'd stop around 10, and he'd find a good viewing point where you could just chill and relax and stretch our legs, and he would make us coffee, instant coffee, and top it off. Yeah, so that was clutch.
Okay, so I know we talked about you going abroad and you also teaching abroad. Going forward after these week's episodes, I need you to keep track of every episode where Chris was like, well, when I was on safari, or if I say something about Aspen, because we're about to dive into that.
Okay.
And I don't think I've ever flexed as hard as I'm about to flex for the next 40 minutes. We'll try to keep it brief, but there's a lot of people we want to shout out. Chris, I know you've worked this event before.
Yeah.
And I guess we can say whatever I did was work, but it really wasn't the same style of work as when you worked there.
No, you got the full experience.
I got the full experience. I don't know if they hand out awards for people that just go hard as fuck in the paint for 4 days for no reason, but if they do, I got that award this year.
I was shocked at how hard you went into the paint.
For someone who's however old I am, it was way too hard.
Well, I mean, not only how hard you went, but you played extremely well. You were. I would say you were in the starting 5 up there.
All right, Chris. So let's go ahead and dive into this. First off, the Michelin Star program is coming to Colorado. You missed that while you were gone, but I actually got to talk with some of the chefs in Colorado and around the country about that, and we'll dive into said chefs in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and start with shout out to Lori Lafarge, maybe like Lafarge. She is the PR representative that runs the food and wines, like kind of the media side of it. She is a fucking all-star.
Way to go.
Yeah, she was unbelievably helpful for someone that was a first-timer and was like, yeah, look, this is, if you want to come to this party or this, we'd love to have you as well. But also kind of helped you get set up in the lay of the land. She is unbelievably kind. And the whole team from Food and Wine, they're the most hospitable people I have ever fucking seen in my life. Like, you think Disney World, like where people are like wearing that fake, like smile on their face, and they're like, I know that person's miserable playing a character. These people are not miserable. This is their Super Bowl because they love fucking food and wine and just partying with, great chefs and great dank-ass food.
Yeah.
And they show it. And they show it in everything. It is so fucking awesome.
And everybody, like, from what I remember, and you got to experience firsthand because you got close to everybody, but everybody is... No, yeah.
In a professional way.
Yeah, no touchy-feely. But, like, in a way that, everybody is there just to have fun. Like, it's a way for, like, probably, a lot of chefs that work in different cities, they don't always see each other. But, like, it seems like they're just there to have a good time,
And Colorado's chefs were on, and, restaurant and hospitality staff were very much on full display. Carlin, Carr, and Bobby, your former employers, slay it. Carlin has seminars, like, every day and, like, has a crew of people that, like, show up and, like, are slugging wine at 9 a.m. And then they get to go, do the tastings. And so I got to shadow them for a day and watch them drink. And so every time they would go to a specific booth, I'd be like, all right, this is a good booth. And I'd be like, see if they nod. Like, okay, you like that one. So then later in the day, I'd come back and drink more of those wines because they're fucking geniuses. And it's, there's tons of geniuses, experts in their crafts, all over the fucking place. All over the place.
So before diving into all the cool people you met and hung out with, what was the dress wear like up there? What was the scene? Was it a lot of folded sweaters over the shoulders?
So our buddy Jeremy said it best. These people are so rich they don't even have any taste. It's the people like Donald Trump that has like gold all over his fucking apartment or whatever in New York. It's those type of people. I fit in like a glove because of exactly that. I wore preposterous linen tops. I found a nice little neat jacket. I should have done a get ready with me TikTok one morning, but I woke up every morning looking like a bag of dicks. So it was just fine taking a shower, getting dressed, and doing my quick day recaps. The people are so rich in Aspen, and the people that fly in for it, because it's literally just walls of caviar. Tins are cracked to every 5 feet. There's just uni and oysters and wagyu everywhere. But, and so the grand tasting is the reason they're all there. Food and Wine brings folks, chefs in from all over to do these seminars there. But they host these events around town. And so this is why how we can make fine dining fun again, and it's approachable for idiots like me, because I got to meet, I know Chef Kelly Whitaker from Wolf Taylor, Boston.
Right.
Talk about dry storage and how they use those fresh grains and mills. They're doing it the ethical way here in Colorado. And he was one of the leaders of men in this weekend. But you meet other folks that are throwing parties all over the town. So you don't necessarily have to have the grand tasting ticket to make a great weekend of this.
But those side events, you do, yeah.
But the side events, it's not like the media pass got me in. What it is like you gotta go and like it gives you access to meet folks, but you make friends with people at these free wine tastings. You can just walk into bars, and then they're like, "Hey, we're doing a party this evening at this." You can even go on Eventbrite and type in Aspen, and then the day that you'll be there, and it'll show you events in the area. Some of which are free to RSVP, some of which you had to have passwords. Sometimes we were given those passwords from the hosts that invited us specifically because we did the podcast or we were a member of the media this year. But Food and Wine has tailored it beautifully, so there's like this welcome party they have. And then they do the top of the mountain party, which I was not privy to as a first-timer this year. I was learning as I go, so I didn't actually have access to getting these tickets everywhere. So I didn't get to meet the white whale that even I joked about, which is Guy Fieri. But what I did do is I got to meet some people that you can meet and hang out with personally. People that are just like the guests we've had on this pod. You know, chefs that are fun to goof off with, talk about dinosaurs or smoke the vape pen and, you know, make creative food. That's what these chefs are. They just happen to be the guys and gals that we've watched on TV for the last 5 or 6 years and, like, love their fucking food. It is so awesome. Shout out to Chef Buddha, Chef Rebecca, Chef Sarah, Chef Nene, Chef Justin, Chef Jonas. I mean, Chef Eric. There were so many folks.
Bobby.
Met Bobby Flay as well. Jeremy, our buddy from CNN, who's been on this podcast, who's on our March Madness team, he helped kind of facilitate some. He showed us the lay of the land and got me into some parties. Got to meet Garrett Trucks and fucking Susan Tedeschi because they were just walking around the Little Nell at late night when everybody else was, like, just pounding booze and having fun. And because they're all everywhere and they're all so down to earth, you don't just, like, ask for a selfie and, like, take a picture all the time. Like, I think I hung out with C.J. McCollum, the NBA, you know, all-star and fucking rock star in the wine world. You know, Channing Frye, who has, you know, the Chosen Family Wine Company. There's all these people that are very approachable, that are very famous and popular. But then you meet these folks like David Green and Rose Cravat who run Go There Wines. And they actually represent, you know, minority winemakers and under, like, maybe second, you know, like countries that are second thought of, you know, not like your France's or your Spain's, but instead your Lebanon's, your Georgia's, your South Africa's, in fact, and maybe smaller or minority-run wineries here in the States. And so we got to do these events with them and learn more about it. So now my dick is hard for this wine, and we're going to order a case for the studio, put it in the wine. You know, the shelf is pretty full over there, but we're adding more to them because we have to support these great folks. But it just starts there. With these parties are fucking awesome, Chris.
And I see, you know, they are regular people. They put their pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah,
and you got
not Guy Fieri and Bobby Flay. They're always like they're always having to do something.
Yeah.
Like Buddha and Rebecca, fucking Ali. These people are, you know, bigger than life, and they're down to clown. They'll sit there and eat a sandwich with you, or, you know, just goof off and have a cocktail and talk about whatever. Now they're stuck with me. I hung out with Buddha a lot.
You got Buddha say this food fucks.
Dude, I had to do a whole review. I think I have one of Ali, and so we'll post these videos concurrently with Chris throughout the weekend. But yeah, so for those that are like, hey, how do we do this event? This is how you do it. Even if you don't buy the grand tasting tickets, which are a little bit expensive, they're more expensive than any food tasting event we've ever done, but it's 2,000 times cooler than any food event we've ever done. But these other parties, just by being present, it's half the battle. And so that's really the coolest part about it. And then, so Chef Kelly, obviously Dave Knos of Denver, great chef. He's on that short list for the Michelin's when they get to Denver. He had this pimped out location. He teamed up with Onus IV, and they did a wellness breakfast one day where you came through, had some miso, had some non-alcoholic beverages, which if you're looking for mocktails or a cool bar, hey, kiddo's got your vibe for you in Denver. We've obviously been over there a time or two. But, like, they had a breakfast where you came in and got an IV, a little soup, and a non-alcoholic beverage they teamed up with Yeti for. Like, it was a very thought-provoking, like, I was like, that's a genius idea. then they do a party called Global Fires, where they and Chef Justin Sutherland from Bravo Top Chef. There was actually like 20 chefs out there. I just was goofing off with Justin. They were all cooking up a bunch of fucking wagyu and prawns and like beef and steaks hanging just like from this little rafter, large ass fucking fish. And then our friends, Ordinary Fella from Palisade, were pouring the wines, so you could get that natural and that fun, funky wine, really dank-ass food. And these are all outside the grounds, and these things are available to everybody as well. You just have to kind of be a little bit present or have some forethought. So, like, if you're like, I'm going this year, you booked your place in, August for next year's June or whatever. Even if you don't get the grand tastings, you start kind of putting out the vibe or ask to shoot us a DM or, reach out to these chefs that you see are doing seminars. Be like, hey, y'all doing any cool parties out other places? They'll answer the bell most times than not. Like, they don't give a shit who you are. They didn't care about, I'm nobody. And they were nice enough to just let you know. They were inviting me to tag along. They're like, come on. Like, I was like, I don't have a ticket. They're like, we got you. Don't worry about it.
And you can always just try, like, they open up volunteer applications every year. So that's a good way. And basically you get a free grand tasting. So you work one day and then you can play the next day.
Yeah, so like one day there was, like Sunday I think is the big day for volunteers because the line of people were like waiting, wrapped around to get in. But on Saturday, we did this thing, Chris, and I want to shout out Baltz Co. It's a PR firm based on the East Coast. They teamed up with Go There Wines and some chefs from Denver, in fact, to throw one of the coolest events I've ever been in my life. So Sylvia Hernandez and Enrica Rojas are two of Kamal's first ever graduates. And we talked about Kamal Incubator Kitchen here in Denver.
It's awesome.
They are doing the Lord's work over there, and they're churning out dankest buck food. I would hands down fuck this meal 10 times out of 10. But Chef Sylvia and Chef Erica went up like, I'd say just the most Latin delights you could ever imagine. Seafood ceviche, like authentic tacos that were like crispy around the edges, and then a bar. You can pick what kind of toppings you want. Multiple meats and like red sauces and just like rice you could put together. Fucking fresh made desserts. It was amazing. And so I'm going to eat it this week. La Katrina Grill and Sylvia's Lost City, or Sylvia Hernandez, Chef Sylvia Hernandez restaurants are here in town. And then Erica Rojas has Pretos Catering. I think I did that well in my accent. How I do there.
You rolled the R really nice.
I'm really getting better at it. And it probably is because I'm getting exposed to, more folks, more culture. And this lunch, getting to hear them talk about their passion for food and, like, their come up through Kamal, and then here they are cooking in front of, like, the biggest names in the fucking country, And so shout out to Sarah, shout out to Michelle, shout out to that whole fucking team. Sonia, they were so fucking kind. Phil, you're a wizard. But also shout out to American Express and the Amex trade. Y'all threw an unbelievable event, and that was just something I got an email about. And they're like, hey, do you want to come to this event? And I was like, I would love to. So, like, and it was Denver-based and, like, Denver on showcase. And then it was paired with these wines from Go There Wine. And so we're here supporting, like, pretty much all female-led wineries. Maybe one gentleman out of Georgia or Lebanon. But pretty much a female-driven whole event. And it was fucking awesome. And then Alba Huerta and Julep did the cocktails. I knocked that out of the park. Did you hear that rolling? Fuck yeah. That was a good one. And that was that shit like that, because the grand tasting is like a party.
Yeah.
Like, people like taking pictures, but like, you literally turn around and you can spill your drink on Andrew Zimmer. Dude, shout out to Chef Zimmer, another one of those that's just unbelievably kind and like willing with his time to take pictures with whomever. He's a hoot and a holler.
I would like to talk with him. He seems like a cool guy, and I love it. Like, if you're ever scared about like trying something new or eating something a little out of your comfort zone, just think to yourself, what would Zimmer do?
You know what? And him being from the Twin Cities, just like Chef Justin is, it makes me wonder if we need to do some more road tripping. Like, I know Buddha's got a restaurant that's set to reopen out of New York. We've got to go fucking eat there. I mean, that guy, he was unbelievably supportive of us all weekend. We need to go support him, and it's a great excuse for us to go travel around and, eat a bunch of food. And I think Minneapolis needs to be on that short list, but also Chef Ali, who made, huge noise in the American food world with, just tearing apart the world classic before running into the Buzzsaw Buddha. He's got a bunch of pop-ups in places like Jordan and across the Middle East and Europe and things of that nature that he's stewing on. And this guy is an absolute rock star chef. These guys, they're 10 years younger than us, Chris, but they're fucking rock stars. Or 10 years younger than you because you're old as shit. They're like he's
I could be their dad.
I don't think that's the case.
No.
But you are old as shit. So we do have some trips in store to go show the love. But some of those chefs were right here in our backyard. So you're going to see us supporting them. And you're going to see these videos coming, Chris.
I want to try that Cantrina. Is that?
You're talking about Chef Sylvia's?
Yeah.
La Cantrina Grill. And then Sylvia's Lost City.
Is that in Denver Metro? Or?
Yeah, we're going to find it, Chris.
Okay.
I'm going to find it for us, and I'm going to report back. Because, it's crazy when you think about it that you have to go 3 hours away to find out a restaurant that's going to end up being like right across our street. I'm going to be like, holy shit. So we're going to find out real well. But it looks like it is at 5066 Adams Street. So like Globeville area, along Elysian Fields. Yeah, we'll see you this week. I believe that's the one. And then for Sylvia's Lost City, I mean, Chris, I can't tell. You can see this post. I'll have it up by today or tomorrow. This meal was awesome. And then so was the Global Fires. And then Saturday night, Chris, that's when shit really hit the fan. It was just a party like I've never fucking seen. So Kelly had this place, the same place who did that wholesome IV party in the morning. It was the most ratchet thing in the evening time. So it was like a pimped-out swag palace. It had shuffleboard and ping pong tables, foosball tables, and indoor like little hockey games like the olden days. Huge TVs on the walls and a big island and large patios.
Aspen.
So second and third floors were just chefs, wall-to-wall chefs. Fucking every chef that has ever graced the Food Network or Top Chef, from Chef Kelly all the way up and down. They're just taking turns, like, hopping on the Komodo grills. Or they're like, somebody will whip, like, here's a tomahawk steak, or here's beef ribs, and somebody else will grab it and plate it, and somebody, it was the most crazy thing I've ever seen. And so I walk in, and they're like, oh, there's Kip. You have any flour on you? And I didn't. I just had edibles and cartridges because I didn't know the protocol. And they were sitting there smoking caviar, like, not smoking it, like, me smoking.
Right,
cocaine.
not rolling it up.
Yeah, but like with the fucking glass tin over the top and the wood chip kind of vibe. And they're like, give me weed. I was like, God damn it. This was the one time. But the whole weekend, I was just passing out edibles and cartridges like they were Skittles. So if any chef ever needs anything, you holler at us. That is exactly what I mentioned with our new partnership with Schwaz, is we want to put the product in consumers' hands so that we can see that they like it. Because I gave it to a bunch of folks at the welcome party on Thursday. The I Love Incredibles, or that's what it's their Instagram. Incredibles is these little sweet tart minis, and it's standing akimbo. You can get them in 5 milligrams, but get 100 of them. So it's like a packed ass jar, pin the shit. $22, Chris. $22, 500 milligrams, comes in 5 milligram dosages. So if you're a casual consumer, but you want to eat the edibles and you don't want to pay, that would be $80, if you're a rec shopper. And while there's nothing wrong with being a rec shopper, if you're looking for that value, that's where you get that fucking value. I was just passing them out like, if I was dosing anybody that wanted them. It was awesome. Also, shout out to Chef Gregory out of Portland. That guy may be one of the nicest humans I've ever met. I mean, just unbelievable. Like, these people are so fucking nice. I just thought about the welcome party, and I was like, anybody want? He's like, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, though. And I was like, oh, my God. They're so fucking cool. Everyone is so nice, and it makes, like, fine dining approachable because you can get to know them or at least just have a conversation with them because they're just sitting there getting shit-faced off the Patron with you, or Lalo in that instance because we were hammering a lot of Lalo. They had a party with Uchi where it was just 3 palomas and 3 sushi. Just raw fish, palomas.
Linen shirt, Aspen times, free palomas. Holy shit!
And so the one fickle thing about it, Chris, is like it rained its tits off, and it actually snowed and hailed on the first night, or maybe second. I can't remember. But if the grand tasting closes for lightning like it did, I think you just have to eat the bullet. It's like the Masters. It's the Masters for people that masturbate to caviar. Like if caviar is your jam, not Tiger Woods, this is your place.
Yeah.
It's the greatest place I've ever been in my life.
At the Grand Tasting, did they have a thing where, like, did Buddha do a little... Yeah, like, I feel like they have, like, a Top Chef, like, corner section.
They had this, like, Lexus lounge where different chefs were doing tastings. And then they also had seminars. So Chef Buddha showed a video of his tasting. He had, like, a line of people waiting for him before he even got started. And the funniest thing is he's just a fucking hoot and holler, man. Like, he's so personable. We were joking around with the Top Chef, like, executives, and they're all sitting there, and obviously Buddha is a god because he's just fucking slaying the competition and everything they put him in. But he was, like, pitching different ideas to him, and I was like, this guy never stops working. He's just always having fun, always goofing off, and he knows a really good food. I mean, he even said this Wagyu skewer is stuffed. That made me, I mean, that was the highlight of my life.
That made me smile when I watched that from afar.
Dude, that was the best part of it. I was like, oh my god, that is so fucking cool that now the fuck scale is officially official. And the wood bang again, the WBA, I mean, it was awesome. I will say though, Chris, if I don't have a raw oyster for a week or two, I'll be okay. But it was amazing. I think I covered everything. Did I miss anything? Face hurts. My head hurts. I'm tired.
That's rough.
Global Fires. Top chefs. Shout out to Jeremy Harlan before we leave. Jeremy was up there writing a story for CNN about the underrepresentation from African Americans in the wine industry and how they're starting to see a change in that happening, and because there can be generational wealth created through the wine industry.
Right.
And so it's starting to grow amongst, I saw Maya, our friend, the wine mistress from Denver, I saw her partying around, and Chef Brother Luck, in fact, as well, talking about Colorado vibes. But he just dropped an article this morning about exactly that. So he was up there actually working, like when he went up there, juxtaposed to when I went up there to just get drunk. He dropped a badass article on CNN about the growing movement in the African American community in the wine industry. So I would say check that out. He's a very kind friend of ours. He was nice enough to take me under his wing. And then I learned a little bit, not only from him this weekend and how to behave, but also, about, others in the industry through his journalism. So I thought it was really good reporting. And I want to give a shout out to Jeremy, the Sherpa Food Wine Classic. Did I miss anything? Oh, yeah, no, God candy.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it's all right. He'll answer one with emails one day.
One of these days. One of these days it will squeak through. It'll squeak through. Somebody will be, like, feeling good one day, and they'll be like, oh, it's Kip again.
Be like, you know what? Let's just fucking take it. Or what's going to happen is maybe, we're going to travel to New York. We're going to make Buddha come on the podcast when we go eat at his restaurant. And then we'll post on the internet about it. And the guys will be like, these are the guys that have been emailing me every week for 4 years. Maybe it's time I finally reply.
Yeah, it will be like getting a Dear Santa. We'll just send him Dear Santas every Christmas. Ask for him to come on.
Yeah, eventually it's going to happen. Eve, did we miss anything today? How'd we do?
Pretty good. Did you want to shout out the woman who won tickets to Drink Red, Wear Red? And we took a picture with you, and we didn't shout you out last week, and we're sorry.
Very good.
Thank you for coming up to us.
Yeah, we appreciate
Our bad.
Support. I'm so sorry I forgot to mention that last week. But I'm glad Eve's got a good memory because I would have forgot about that, and you reminded me before this episode. So
yeah, but then I forgot last week, like after we were done. I was like, damn.
We're
okay.
work ethic.
Thank you.
We're going to drop just reels after reels all week, whether it be safari dogs going after animals, lions in the bush, or whether it's, Wagyu on the grill. You're going to see it all. We're not going to leave anything unturned. If y'all have any questions, maybe you're trying to plan a vacation with the family or going to South Africa, want to know where to grab cannabis, Chris has got you. He's happy to answer any DMs. And if you're trying to go to Aspen Food and Wine, I would say there's other people to ask that are much smarter than me, but if you want the layman's route of how to do it kind of pulse-friendly or in the fun capacity without being a professional, I have the most unprofessional way to navigate Food and Wine Classic.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did at these wineries in Stellenbosch. I navigated the best. I wouldn't say blackout. Okay, I blacked out. I blacked out in the Uber ride. Well, it got fuzzy. It got fuzzy at Takara Winery when they brought out their brandy. That's when it went downhill.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I actually was, you know,
the
scene from Wayne's World where they're in the garage and he's telling them about the party at Gasworks. He's like, yeah, man, we were there with you last night, talking about like the guy that was drunk. That was me on Saturday on the bus. Sarah was like, yeah, I was there. I introduced you to Derek Trucks. I took that picture on your fucking internet. I took that of y'all. I was like, my bad.
Yeah, see, and it happens like that. Like, you don't necessarily see it coming. Like I didn't see it coming at first. I was like, oh, okay, Chris, we're getting a little tipsy here. And it really started to set in when at that one winery they had a dog.
I saw you sending pictures to the group text. You're like, they have a winery dog, and you're just like petting the shit.
Oh my God! Like that's when looking back on it now, that's when I probably should have dialed it back a hair. But then when like certain guys, when we were talking to the wineries, because like visiting a winery, people are so friendly there, and they're just jazzed because like it's their job to make wine or to know about their vineyards. And so like when we would like be in with people who know a lot more about wine than me, when we would ask questions, they'd be like, oh, well, hold the phone. I was going to open this later, but we'll just open it now. And I was just like, holy shit. And yeah.
I tagged along for one of those at like 4 in the morning with some bottle of wine that was 1961. And we had like 700 bottles of wine that day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is wasted.
Your taste buds are toast.
And I pulled out a coffee mug, and they're like, you can't drink this wine out of that. And so I take this glass, and it was like a different flavor. But I know the feeling. Same camp, different continent.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, hey, we're going to be back Thursday with a normal 30-minute episode, but this has been the most preposterous weeks of the pod since March.
Yeah, and we didn't even cover everything. Or I mean, I could have talked for hours, but nobody wants to hear it. Just if you ever are thinking like, hey, do I ever need to go to Africa? Not even if you're like, not even to go on a safari, just go. I would say try to visit.
I like that. That's a really good recommendation, Chris. And yeah, I think that another out-of-tune-touch thing to say would be, if you ever have the means to go to Aspen Food and Wine, you should make that happen as well. That's the craziest week I've ever had, and I can't tell y'all, can't thank the Food and Wine community enough for letting me. I tried to behave as best as possible so that we don't get blacklisted next year, and I think I did okay. I didn't get browned out until like at least dusk, and at that time it's 8:30, and it's after like the main events, so everyone's pretty drunk.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't like hug or make anybody uncomfortable. You know.
Did you close the door when you pee?
What the fuck?
I mean,
did you at least pee indoors?
What the fuck? These questions. Turn your DM.
I mean, who doesn't shut the door?
Okay, so for those
Gently closed.
There was 2 people in this restroom, and it had a barn-style door. And we happened to be at a large party with a couple famous folks that, you know, I had just...
You didn't want to miss anything.
Well, no. I went to the bathroom, and this gentleman who had just gone to the bathroom was washing his hands like civilized people do. And so what happened was he must have left the bathroom and not shut the barn-style door back while I was still urinating. And then a bunch of chefs just so happened to walk by the room and start yelling at me, like, dude, what the fuck? And so that was one of the more embarrassing parts of the weekend. And then one night, I may have gotten a little too drunk, and on my walk home, I had to urinate and relieve myself outside because I wasn't going to make it back to the hotel in time before I peed on myself.
What if you would have gotten a public peeing ticket? Did they take you to the slammer for that? Because then you would have
going to Aspen jail, like missing like a day of like work as I do the air quotes.
It's probably a really nice jail.
It's probably the nicest jail.
Sir, we have leftover caviar from the event. tent we threw the other night.
Be like, we got up and salmon and lox for breakfast this morning. Lox and bagels, salmon and lox. Whatever. All right, I think we did pretty good. I'm sorry that we rambled. Thanks for everybody again for the hospitality this weekend. Thanks to the continent of Africa, the countries of Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa for taking care of Chris. I guess you bought marijuana, so you hit that prop bet. You did not get food poisoning, but the malaria drugs did fuck with you a little bit.
Did fuck with me.
So you didn't get FP, and then you didn't get Maul. So we went 1 for 3 on props. I'm glad you at least found some weed, so we can check that off the company box.
Yeah, there's a little iffy situation with an elephant one day that scared the shit out of us. I'll try and get that video because I think it's pretty funny. We were like, oh fuck. Like, the elephant was coming towards the back of the truck, and we were like, this beast looks like it's about to fucking flip his tusk under and just knock us over.
It's so wild. I mean, I have no frame of reference except for watching what they do, and I feel like that's so sad because they're, like, lost of spirit because they're just, like, sitting, we were talking about Aspen jail. It's like, seeing them in their natural habitat where they can thrive would be a lot cooler.
But also, another little lingo thing that was used at one of the camps was if you had to take... if you had to take a pee or something, you just say, I got to pick a flower.
No.
So, you don't like
I
that?
don't like that.
You
Don't
do?
ruin flowers with pee.
Well, it's like you're standing there like, oh, I'm going to go pick a flower.
I
don't like it.
Look like you're like standing out there like picking flowers, but you're actually going to the restroom right below it.
I don't like it.
Okay, that's an interesting one. I don't hate it.
And I found it funny, like, when people would say, like, oh, how are you? I'd be like, oh, I'm doing great. And then I'd be like, how are you? And they're like, good, good. It was always double goods.
Oh, okay, so not that bad.
But good, good. Be like, oh, how are you, TS? Which was short for tablespoon. Don't ask me about that nickname.
That was yours?
No, that wasn't mine. That was our guide's. But I was like, how are you? And he's like, good, good. I was like, sweet.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for putting up with us. We know that was a long one. We haven't gone an hour and a half or so, and fuck, it's been forever. So y'all, we'll talk to y'all again on Thursday. What's our sign off? Stay high, stay hungry.
Drink South African wine.
Do you gotta be?
Eat feta.
Eat feta.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Not falafel.